Well, today I'm joined by Levi and Jared as we dig into another one of our Fairhaven essentials, serve others. And we define this as using our time and our talents to display God's love. So Levi, do you want to start us off with what this essential means?
Yeah, this essential is so important in the life of Jesus. I mean, he came to serve all of us. And he sets an awesome example. This is just so cool. A scripture that we talk about so frequently when we come to a communion. Right before communion, Jesus washes his disciples' feet. And even Peter kind of like freaks out about it. He goes like, if you're gonna wash, like you can't wash my feet, I should wash your feet. And Jesus says, no, you don't understand. I came to serve you. What an amazing thing. So it's why it's so essential to our walk as we follow in the footsteps of Jesus. He came to serve us, so we need to serve others in the same way.
It's so true. You know, I love how, just like your example, Levi, Jesus taught that greatness in the kingdom is not based on power or authority the way we see it in the world,
right,
but it's based on being a servant. And he says, the Son of Man did not come into this world to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. And what an example from washing the disciples' feet to sharing how the blessing and the joy comes not just being served, but to serve and serving others as an example in our leadership as well.
So as followers of Jesus, we want to model, right, his servant's heart. So what does that look like for you practically?
Yeah, you know, Jesus gives examples of the large ways that we it's Jesus. He changed the world, right? Like he died on the cross for our sins. So when we say like follow in the footsteps of Jesus, what does that mean? For me, it's doing small things and trying to do large things when they come up. You know, I haven't run across somebody like the Good Samaritan like Jesus talks about, where it's like, this guy's dying on the side of the road. Like, so am I really serving others when I just open the door for somebody, you know, in going into the store or as they're coming into church? Like, is that really making a difference? And the truth is, I've seen over and over again in my life that it has. Jared, I know you have too. I mean, we see this all the time in folks that we're doing just such a simple act of kindness, honestly, that's sacrificial in some way, and thinking about them first. It really can change the trajectory of somebody's life in a simple way. And oftentimes we don't know it until, way later, which is kind of fun. But also, I just gotta be faithful in the little things. And for me, it's mostly about a perspective of I need to think of others first. And if it's a small thing, great. If it's a large thing, it's great too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, it does start in the heart. It starts with that desire to say, how can I serve others? How can I bless someone else? And you mentioned small things. Every time we have a first step class and we meet someone who's new to the church, they always say the same thing. They felt the joy of the Lord. They felt this presence when they walked in, based on greeters welcoming them, saying hello, having that smile, having that thankful heart, and serving. And so those little things make a difference.
Right.
Whether it's just sending someone a text and saying, hey, encourage someone that day, or going out and serving the gospel mission, which we do. There's different things we can do. But when your heart is humble, when you say, Lord, how can I be a blessing to others as you bless me? Then you get the blessing return. And so I think, like Levi said, it doesn't have to be this grandiose, of course, going on mission trips and different things are awesome, and that really is a blessing to you as well. But just the simple things in life really make a difference when it comes to serving others.
Right, and displaying his love.
Yeah.
So Levi, in your life, have you had to ever step out of your comfort zone to serve others, or has God called you to something that you weren't really sure that you could do, and how has that grown you?
Yeah, honestly, it goes way back. I was in high school and I had a youth pastor who saw something in me and said, hey, you've got a guitar and you could probably lead the middle school youth group in worship. And I was like, I don't sing. He's like, it's just like talking, only louder and longer. The elf line, right? It worked.
Yeah.
So I showed up and just started going, okay, I don't know, but somebody's asking me to do this. And so I'm just going to do it. It was a pastor in my life calling me to something that actually made me very uncomfortable. And yet it started to rise up in me, this just heart of serving others in something that honestly I was still developing the craft and the skills in. But this is what I've learned. God doesn't always call the equipped. He equips the called.
Yeah.
And so if you feel like, man, at least I felt in my life that I don't know if I can do this so often. And God has always met me there and given me what I needed to work through it, whether that's a person helping to mentor me through it, or some teaching at the right time, or just the like not even the confidence, but just the spirit empowered, like, you can do this. I'm gonna be with you as you serve me. That has really helped me grow. And eventually it made me go, I'm going to give my whole life to this. I'm going to give my career to it. I felt a call into full-time ministry. And it all started with one guy going, hey, you got a guitar, don't you? And so listening to that, God can speak through those things as well. It's a cool experience for me. Jared, I'm sure you probably had an experience or two where you've learned about how God's called you into some stuff.
It's so funny because it's very similar, actually.
Yeah.
When I was an intern way back when, in California at a church, and I was doing a bunch of different ministries. I was doing men's ministry, young adult, never youth ministry. And then our youth pastor left. He went to be a pro surfer. This is Southern California. And so my mentor pastor came to me and he said, hey, we want you to pray about being the next youth pastor. And I said, sure, I'll pray about it. He says, good, because you're starting next week. So literally,
That's awesome.
Not a lot of time to pray, but just thrown in the fire. But he was mentoring me and building me up, and I learned a lot in those next couple years about youth ministry. And in the same way, though, sometimes God just calls you to be obedient, and he produces that step. And when you know that step's there, if you step out in faith, he's gonna deliver. He's gonna teach you so much. And I'm so glad because that shaped me so early on in ministry, shaped my life. Having a heart for students, having a heart for youth. And I probably would have never stepped into that if someone wouldn't have believed in me. Like you said, Levi, you need people that believe in you, but you also need to believe in others. And shoulder tapping and calling someone to something greater than they even think their potential is so important when it comes to how we serve others and encourage people to serve at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it's important to not stop. It doesn't stop with that one call, right? Like when we're talking about like maybe how we got into ministry, but I know God has called me in different seasons, and it calls all believers in different seasons to new and uncomfortable things. I got this actually from our mutual friend, Rob Schumann, right? God calls us to new and uncomfortable things, good. And it's just a good thing when we get pushed out of our comfort zone and we follow God in obedience.
Right. Well, it grows our faith, right? When we see that he shows up for us, when he calls us to something we're not sure about.
That's right.
And he shows up, and that grows our faith.
And it's for the edification or for the good of the church and those around us. It's just an important thing. That's how the others comes into it. Because it's so much, I feel like we're talking about like, it's me doing something, but all of that is me doing something for others, for their good, because God has empowered me to do it. And that's just an awesome thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how do you guys serve others within your community, within your family? What does that look like?
Yeah, man, as a parent, I think every parent wants their kid to do good in the world. Like that's part of just like raising kids. You're like, I hope you're like a valuable member of society someday. Right. And as followers of Jesus, we're called to train our children up in the way that they should go. And so serving others is a massive part of that. To be honest with you, it's a challenge. I think any parent with young kids is going, yeah, how do I do that? And just helping them in simple ways. One way that we do this every night is we just ask our kids to pray for someone else. My daughter has this little like thing she pulls a stick out of that has some other thing to pray on it. Sometimes it says the neighbor, sometimes it says America, sometimes it says our school, and so she picks one of those out and it helps her to pray and think about how can I pray for my neighbor, my school, my country, that helps frame in her mind that she's to do something for them. Like we exist to make those places flourish. Because that's the reason we have Jesus. He helps us to flourish, and we want to see their flourishing. And so it just, even in those little times, because you think, oh man, they can't, what could they do? They can't go and give a bunch of money or go in and fix something for somebody, like with their hands. That's what I would do. I'd go in and hey, can I help you with your yard work? But simply doing that. Another example is like, hey, as soon as my son was old enough, I was like, hey, go get the neighbor's trash can. Like, just go help him out with that, because he was out there pulling his trash cans in. Right. And so just something as simple, but knowing that our kids have the capacity to do things. As soon as they have that capacity, I'm trying to open their eyes to see it's not just about me doing it for me, it's about me serving another. And we do that within our family, we do that with our neighbors, we try to do it with our school as much as possible. And we look for opportunities, even just, anywhere we go, hey, why don't you go help them real quick? Like looking for opportunities and calling our kids up to that. That's just a couple ways that we try to incorporate serving others with our children.
Yeah,
So.
it's
Yeah,
awesome.
like training them to put others first, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and you see with kids, I mean, it's caught more than taught too, so often.
Sure.
Where they see mom and dad, or they're able to see what our values and what we prioritize. And I think that's what's so important is when we're serving and we're serving with them. So often we can serve on our own and they can do something else. But man, if we can serve together too. I know recently last Christmas, we got to go down to the gospel mission and just bring my son and some people from our small group. And you had people from the small group that had their kids, and to be able to serve together and just to be a part of that community serving together. You tell those stories with one another, and you're able to see how God's using that in ways where you're learning the value of serving and giving yourself over to something greater than you. And so it's so important when it comes to what does that look like of serving in community, whether it's our family, whether it's with groups, so that way we can find the joy in serving.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Jared and Levi, for being with us today and talking about how we can serve others.
Yeah, it's great. This essential is so important for our church, and hope to see lots of people trying some different things out, which would be great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.